Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Mark, here as always with Chad.
What's up, people? Ready to get motivated? Because today we're diving deep into how to set the right goals and, better yet, how to stay motivated after you set them.
Absolutely. We're basing our chat on some fascinating insights from Ayelet Fishbach's TED Talk on just this topic. She's a professor of behavioral science and business, and she really breaks down the psychological framework behind why some goals energize us and others just fizzle out.
Yeah, I watched that TED Talk a while ago, and it definitely stuck with me. Motivation isn't just about having big dreams. It's about setting the right kinds of goals. And I think most of us fail at that part. It's so easy to aim high, but then totally lose steam somewhere along the way.
Right. So let's kick off by unpacking what Fishbach calls the goal-setting paradox. She says, on one hand, goals motivate us because they give us something to work toward. But on the other hand, once we start achieving small steps, our motivation can dip if we don't keep those goals framed properly.
That's so true. You ever notice how sometimes when you're working on something, once you pass a milestone, you actually feel this weird drop-off? Like you think, okay, what's left to do? That can kill momentum. I've definitely been there where I hit a halfway point or a mini goal, and instead of feeling good, I just feel stuck.
Exactly. So Fishbach's key takeaway is that you want to set goals that not only focus on end results, but also highlight progress along the way. She calls this progress monitoring, tracking small wins to keep the motivational engine running.
I love that because it makes motivation feel like a game you can win piece by piece instead of one big jump. And usually, people want these giant, almost impossible goals like, I want to run a marathon, or I want to completely change careers. But if the goal is too vague or far away, it's easy to get discouraged. It's like chasing a mirage. No close checkpoints, no real sense of advancement.
Totally. And what's interesting is that Fishbach talks about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. She points out that goals which tie closely to our core values, what she calls intrinsic motivation, are way more effective long-term than goals driven by outside pressure or rewards.
You know, that really hits home for me. I've tried working out because I wanted to impress others or hit some company wellness target. Didn't stick. But when I started running because I genuinely liked how it cleared my head, the motivation was completely different. It felt less like a chore and more like a me thing, something I was doing for my own sake.
That's a perfect example. So how do we figure out if our goals are grounded in intrinsic motivation? Does Fishbach give practical advice on this?
She does. One method she suggests is to ask yourself why you want to achieve that goal and then keep asking why underneath each answer, sort of like peeling an onion. Eventually, you get to a core reason that feels personal and meaningful.
Ah, the classic 5 whys technique. I love that method because it helps cut through the surface-level aspirations and get to what really moves you. Plus, it makes the goal something you're emotionally connected to, which is huge for motivation.
Yeah, it's like filtering your goals through your own values instead of just what sounds good or looks impressive. I tried that recently with one of my projects. Kept drilling down until I realized what really mattered was feeling progress and ownership, not just hitting some deadline.
And here's something else critical from Fishbach: setbacks. She emphasizes that setbacks aren't just inevitable, they're necessary. They give you feedback about your effort and the feasibility of a goal. Instead of beating yourself up or giving up, you're supposed to reframe the setbacks as information to adjust your approach.
That's a mindset shift a lot of people overlook. We think setbacks mean failure, but Fishbach frames them as natural detours on the path to success, if we choose to interpret them that way.
It's a powerful reframe, because if you think about it, every successful person has faced setbacks. The trick is whether we panic or pivot when we hit them.
Yeah, and how you react matters massively for staying motivated. Like when I'm training for a race and I hit a rough patch, I remind myself that slowing down or even stepping back for a day isn't quitting. It's just part of the process. Saying, okay, this isn't failure, it's feedback. That keeps me sane and keeps me moving.
Do you guys out there do something similar? Let us know in the comments how you deal with setbacks and keep your goals alive. But back to Fishbach. She also talks about how the goal-setting process becomes motivating itself if you enjoy it.
That's where the concept of autonomy comes in, right? If you get to choose your goals and how you pursue them, your brain's reward system gets lit up. If someone else imposes a goal on you, motivation tanks fast.
Yep, research supports that autonomy leads to better persistence. So the takeaway here is set your own goals, make sure they align with your deeper values, and find ways to track meaningful progress. That combination is powerful. You can't just borrow someone else's dream and expect your brain to rally behind it.
It's funny because I've coached a few friends on goal setting, and the biggest mistake I see is people chasing goals because they should, not because they actually want to. That's a motivation killer right there.
That actually ties into the difference Fishbach highlights between approach goals and avoidance goals. Goals that focus on gaining something positive, like learning a new skill or improving health, tend to be more motivating than those based purely on avoiding something negative, like shame or failure.
Right, focusing on what you gain feels energizing, while avoiding something usually feels stressful and drains motivation. So setting goals framed positively helps keep you engaged.
You know what else is interesting? Fishbach mentions the importance of social support in motivation. Having friends or mentors cheer you on helps a ton.
Oh, for sure. I'm a firm believer in telling others about your goals. When you put your ambitions out there, you feel more accountable. Plus, those people can pump you up when you're down or help you see setbacks differently.
And not only accountability, but also encouragement. That social validation activates brain reward centers and can reframe discouragement.
I remember this one time I was struggling with writing a big report and felt totally stuck. I vented to a friend and she just helped me see it as a work in progress instead of a total failure. That mindset change got me back on track.
Exactly what Fishbach describes as reframing setbacks. And here's another practical tip from Fishbach's talk that often gets overlooked: the role of immediate rewards or feedback.
Yeah, that's huge. Our brains are wired to respond better to immediate feedback, even if the bigger goal is months or years away. So breaking down long-term goals into small, achievable targets means you get frequent hits of accomplishment.
For example, if your big goal is to write a book, you might set daily or weekly writing targets. Cranking out 300 words a day might seem small, but it adds up over time and gives you wins to celebrate.
And those wins spark dopamine release, which fuels motivation. I think people underestimate how important that reward cycle is. If you don't feel like you're winning regularly, motivation fades quickly.
Fishbach calls it the feedback loop, the ongoing cycle of progress and reward that keeps you moving.
It's cool because it makes goals feel less like a distant mountain and more like a series of hills you climb one at a time.
Yeah, and that also helps combat procrastination. When goals feel too big or too far away, our brains just shut down or look for distractions. But if you set small, clear milestones, it's easier to get started.
Side note, ever heard of the saying, "The journey is the reward"? That's basically what this is about. Your motivation doesn't come only from the finish line. It comes from enjoying those small steps too.
Absolutely. And I think that's why journaling small progress or celebrating tiny wins can be so powerful. Just knowing you moved forward gives a psychological boost.
Personally, I started using a daily checklist for my goals. Even if it's just a "did something toward it today" box, it feels good to tick it off.
Great idea. And sharing progress with others can multiply that motivation. Fishbach emphasizes social support again here because hearing encouragement can remind you why the goal matters when internal motivation flags.
So we're seeing that successful goal pursuit involves a few layers: meaningful goal choice, progress tracking, reframing setbacks, immediate feedback, and social encouragement. Miss one, and the whole motivation machine might stall.
Yeah, it's a system. And it makes me wonder, how many people set goals without a real plan to stay motivated?
Probably a lot of us. I know I used to just set goals and hope motivation would magically stay.
That's why these insights are so valuable. Motivation isn't just about willpower or grit, it's about structuring your goal environment in a way that supports your brain's natural processes.
For sure. It's like training motivation muscle. You build it by designing the right conditions.
Let's talk a bit about examples. Think about people who accomplish big things. Aside from talent or luck, motivation is often the secret sauce. Olympic athletes, entrepreneurs, writers, they all know how to keep going when it's tough.
And many of them follow some version of Fishbach's advice. They find intrinsic reasons for their goals, celebrate progress, treat setbacks as lessons, and lean on community.
What about you, Chad? Any personal examples where you applied these concepts and kept motivated?
Yeah, definitely. When I trained for my first half marathon, I broke the training into tiny chunks. Run for 5 minutes, then 10, then add a bit more each week. I kept a log, and tracking progress was super motivating. When I hit a bad week, due to injury, instead of quitting, I adjusted my plan and told my running buddies. That social support kept me accountable and sane. I think I wouldn't have stuck with it otherwise.
That's a great story. I have a similar experience with learning a new language. Instead of obsessing about fluency, I set small goals like learning 5 new words a day, practiced regularly, and noted my progress. I also joined a group chat where we helped each other out, which kept the motivation going, especially during moments when it felt overwhelming.
See, those are real-life proof points of Fishbach's framework. It's not just theory, it works in practice.
And it's applicable across fields: health, career, relationships, personal growth.
So, Mark, what do you think is the single biggest mistake people make when setting goals that kills motivation?
I'd say it's setting goals that aren't clearly tied to intrinsic motivation or personal meaning. Without that, motivation is just a flicker.
I agree. Also, I think ignoring progress monitoring is a huge problem. People focus only on the big finish line and forget to celebrate small wins. That just sets them up for burnout.
It really comes back to the basics. Fishbach lays out: own your goals, break them down, track progress, embrace setbacks, and get support.
One last thing worth mentioning. I like how Fishbach highlights the idea of enjoying the process. That's often forgotten in goal-setting culture. We're wired to want instant results, but loving the journey is what keeps motivation alive long-term.
So true. It's about turning motivation into a sustainable flow, not just a one-time burst.
All right, as we start wrapping up, any final thoughts, Mark?
Just that motivation isn't magic. It's a relationship with your goals. You can learn and nurture. If you're struggling, maybe it's time to revisit those goals. Make sure they're yours. Break them down, get feedback, and bring supportive people into your circle.
And be patient with yourself through setbacks. Those are just part of the story.
So to our listeners, what's a goal you've set that really fires you up? And how do you keep your motivation steady on those tough days? Drop your stories and tips in the comments below. We'd love to hear and learn from you. That wraps up today's episode, all about setting the right goals and staying motivated from Ayelet Fishbach's TED Talk perspective. Chad, anything else to add before we close out?
Just this: motivation is not magic. It's a craft. The more you understand it, the better you get at it. So start tuning into your own goal journey, celebrate progress, and be kind to yourself when hurdles come up.
Perfectly said. Thanks for hanging out with us today, everyone. If you found this episode useful, please share it with anyone who might need that motivation boost.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation that helps you get closer to the life you want.
All right, catch you next time.
Later, folks.